Happy Saturday, everyone. Here we are with the Note Show. We've got Paul Levine, Rodney Madison, Larry Hoffman. We are representing both sides of the continent, somebody in the middle, and Canada. We've got everybody surrounded here. Today our topic is going to be mini storage and other real estate opportunities. And this is Paul brought this up in a recent discussion, recent broadcast about what a great cash flow opportunity a mini storage unit can be. And maybe you could explain a little bit about how that works, Paul.
Well, you've got a lot of different types of commercial real estate investments that you can make. As I always say, you're looking for three things. You're looking for cash flow, you're looking for appreciation, and income tax benefits. And having been a CPA for over 50 years, I am on top of those income tax benefits like you wouldn't believe. But everybody has their own niche and everybody has their own needs. So some people want appreciation. And for appreciation, I tell them to go for apartment buildings. And I like apartment buildings in an area that has a high walk index. And I like to put retail stores on the bottom. And that works out very nicely. And this is not a discussion about apartment buildings. So let me get back to self-storage. Self-storage gives you more cash flow than the normal hold on for a long time investment in real estate. The cash flow is wonderful. And also, you don't have to change lifestyle because self-storage can be run off of your phone. They have programs now that do just about everything. You know when somebody goes into the gate because they put in their code. You know when they open up the unit. You know when they leave and everything else. And you also know when they pay rent. And the expenses for self-storage aren't that high. The cost to make it isn't that high. Before we had the pandemic, it was about $40 a square foot. And then because of the pandemic, it went up to over $80 a square foot. But that's still reasonable considering all of the other investments out there. Self-storage is pretty safe. Yes, you have to be concerned about the area you're in and any competition that's around you. But normally you can set your rents and keep them or improve on them as time goes on. There's one thing, we just closed the property for a client in Taft, California, which is up near Bakersfield. And we were told, and it was verified, that the rents were very low and they were under market. And that blows my mind because that's like leaving money on the table. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard that comment. In self-storage, if you keep the rents up, you're going to get cash flow like you wouldn't believe. It's a lot more than the cash flow from the apartment buildings. But beware, cash flow from that self-storage facility is ordinary income. Ordinary income can be taxed upwards of 37%, whereas the appreciation that you get in your return for an apartment building, you get capital gains, and capital gains is taxed at 20%. So you save 17% going to something else. I just want to compare different things. If you want to be really, really conservative, you can do a triple net lease. And that all you do, and my partner calls that mailbox income, because you go to the mailbox every month, pick up the check, deposit it in the bank, and you've got cash flow, but you've got a determined cash flow, something that will stay according to the contract for a very long time. But the cash flow in self-storage, I wouldn't say it's absolutely great, but it's better than apartments, and it's solid, and it doesn't take a lot of your time.
That's great. Maurice Thomas has joined us, and Ivan Torero, and they're more representing the East Coast here. We have all the way down to Florida.
I guess I'm the only one on the West Coast.
Yeah, and I'm close enough to be West Coast. We represent the Pacific time zone anyway.
Yeah.
And yeah, so did anybody have any questions about what Paul just said?
Hey, Paul. Yeah, it's funny with the self storage. I actually looked into doing that, and I didn't know anything about it because there was a McAlpin's that went out of business and up here, and so it left a large building for rent or for sale.
Right.
And I thought that would be a really good place to put a self storage. Lo and behold, somebody bought it and put a self storage in it.
Yeah, it's a great investment.
Yeah.
You don't have to change your lifestyle for it. You keep the rents at market and follow it and increase them when they have to. And it's just something that only came up a couple of years ago. I mean, we're talking about 15 years ago. There wasn't a whole big deal about self-storage. And now it's the talk of the town. My friend moved to Henderson, Nevada. And Henderson, Nevada is right outside of Vegas, and it's an all single-family home community. And there are three self-storage facilities there. Now, I look at a single-family home community, and I go, well, they've got the garage, they've got extra rooms, they've got wherever for storage, but they're doing great. And I can't believe it. Another thing that will blow your mind is I've been to China 8 times, mainland China, and I will go back in about a year and I will start self-storage there because we have 360 million people in the United States. China has 1.4 to 1.5 billion people. I can't remember in all of the 8 times that I've been to China seeing a single family residence. And my wife is Chinese, and her sister they have a great room. They're high in their building, and they've got a room that goes the whole length of the apartment, and it's all windows. You have a view of everything, and it's all messed up with storage from the kids' toys, from things that they don't use every day, and you can't sit there and enjoy that view, and it's a waste.
Mr. Levine, how as an investor, how do you get involved with it in the most passive way possible?
Okay, you're looking to be a limited partner or just a member in an LLC. Those opportunities are out there. I will tell you, though, that most of the people I deal with and who come to me for advice run their own facilities because I don't like having somebody else making my decisions for me because as a limited partner or just a member in an LLC, you have no say. And they will get whatever return they get, and they'll promise you a return, and you'll get it. But realize something: they're making, and pardon my French, a shitload of money off of what they're doing for you, because they're taking the cream off the top, and then you're getting your exact amounts that you're due.
Well, our household spends way too much money on storage facilities, so we're feeling that economy.
Yeah, I've got a self-storage facility of my own. Not a facility. I mean, I store some stuff.
Yeah.
I like to stay for my own work. I like to stay with apartment buildings.
What are some of the cons of this type of business?
Self-storage?
Yeah.
There aren't that many. There happens to be one big one right now, and that is dealing with the IRS of all people, because a lot of people say, well, this is a business and it goes on Schedule C. And that gives you self-employment tax that you have to pay, but you've got the ability to write off a lot of things that you don't on Schedule E. So, you know, a lot of people have tried to put it on Schedule C, and the IRS comes in and says, no, let's try Schedule E. And so that's one con. There aren't many. I mean, you get the setup and you get a security system that watches it 24/7. You get tapes, you know what's going on. You do have to have somebody on site. I would say maybe 3 days a week in the afternoons, because number one, you want to see what's going on. Number two, you want to sell boxes and tape and all sorts of stuff like that, because you don't want your tenants to go elsewhere, like another storage facility, because they have a sign that says we sell boxes.
Yeah.
So, but the cons are very, very low. The biggest con I have is that the appreciation is not as high as multifamily housing, and I like appreciation because you're taxed at capital gain rates. Remember, and you guys who came in late, I was a practicing CPA for over 50 years before I got into real estate. And my clients would invest, as a CPA, my clients would invest in real estate. So I've been doing multifamily housing since the early 70s.
Wow.
I'm that old. I don't look it, I don't sound it. I've got the energy of a younger person, but I am that old.
You just graduate to the title of guru.
No, man, I got to tell you, I enjoy what I do. And as a CPA, I enjoyed it. I still am unbelievably creative. The Internal Revenue Code was written to collect taxes, but I use it for my clients' benefit, because there are ways that you can do things under the Internal Revenue Code that will save your client.
Well, and that's what you touched on before when you said one of the cons is like the Schedule C versus Schedule D, right? That's where if you have a good accountant, you know, that they can help you to where you won't have those issues with the IRS.
Now, I got something to say, and it's a terrible thing. CPAs don't know a lot about real estate. They don't know about cost segregation. They don't know about bonus depreciation. A couple of weeks ago, I went down to San Diego, and I've been taking a class from this one company called Western CPE. And I don't know if you guys understand cost seg. If you don't, we can do another Saturday on that, because that I can talk for a week. But they were, giving us the year-end income tax thing, and they said bonus depreciation or cost segregation studies can help some with depreciation. And she was going to move on and leave the whole topic. And I raised my hand and I said, no. I said, you got to look at it this way and that way. By the way, I was also a university professor for 6.5 years. So, I took the room over for a few minutes and made sure that these people understood it, because they don't teach it. And if they don't teach it, you're not going to learn it.
Well, and that's one of the things that I've always looked for in a CPA, is somebody that's actually doing what I'm doing. Like when I owned the houses, I owned 147 houses. So my CPA was somebody that invests in real estate. So they knew what I was trying to do. The CPA that I have now invests in notes, so that way you have to make sure, at least in my mind, that the person you're going to understands what you're trying to do, along with like the attorneys, that, the notes and the real estate. I want somebody that's actually investing in notes, an attorney. I want somebody that's actually investing in real estate as an attorney, or any professional that I'm using.
Anybody that invests in real estate should have a really great team behind them, which includes
100%.
their CPA, their attorney, their insurance man.
Yep.
And a few other people, a financial planner, etc. Because what do you do with the money that you make off of that?
Yep.
You can't just put it in a savings account and earn 1% a year. It doesn't work that way.
100% agree.
Anything else, guys?
So I think it might be worthwhile to go around the table here and introduce ourselves here. So I'm the host here. I'm I'm just facilitating the discussion here, and it's a lot of fun. Larry, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Larry Hoffman. I'm the managing member of LJH Investments. I buy performing, non-performing notes across the United States, and I offer my business partners above average returns.
Okay. And Rodney?
Well, ditto. I am a note investor, and I'm doing the same that Larry's doing, but on a much smaller scale. I'm not there yet.
Everybody starts somewhere. So
Right.
yeah. And you've been in it for a while, Rodney. You've done more than you give yourself credit for sometimes, I think.
Oh yes. I've been investing since the late 90s, but not in notes. I've just specialized in notes since 2021.
Okay, yeah. And Maurice?
I am the same way. I'm Maurice Thomas Jr. I'm the same way as Larry and Rodney. Been in the note space about 4 years now, and most recently we've been in the assisted living group home space for about 8 months now at the latest. Yeah, it's been about 8 months.
Awesome. And Ivan?
Difference between me and the other guys is just I'm a lot better looking than they are.
And your Spanish is better too.
Yeah, exactly. I'm Ivan Terrero. I am the note doctor. I am a smile maker. I've been an investor for about 25 years. In the last 10 years or so, I've been a note investor, and I have a small mobile home park.
Yeah, I was thinking the mobile home project is not quite the same, but similar to the the storage facility thing. I don't know. Maybe we can talk about that.
Well, the similarities is that we collect rents on the mobile homes that are not owned by us, and there's not a lot of upkeep to the mobile home park, especially when we sell the homes rent to own. That creates a note opportunity for us, and we're providing stable housing for people that can't afford housing.
Yeah.
When I talked to Greg about this meeting and being invited, you were going into self-storage. You guys are all into notes. Do you plan on hitting any real estate investments? Because the notes are very similar to a triple net lease.
Exactly.
Me personally, I don't think I'll get into the when I was looking at it like several years ago. I entertained it. I did own multifamily units. I did get out of. I sold my last rental this last March. And I go back and forth because when you own real estate, you have the depreciation, and then with
Right.
just the notes, you're taxed differently than just when you have single family homes or multifamily homes. And I said I would never get into owning real estate again, but I think
Right.
the only way that I would ever do that is if I'm actually evaluating a 50 unit building right now to see if that would be something that I would be interested in pursuing.
Okay, you guys,
I'm similar because I've owned small multifamily, and it's just too many headaches. Right now, I forgot to mention I also own an Airbnb, and there's just too many moving parts. I have to deal with, even though I'm not directly involved, like at the management reports. And if there was a multi-family project that would come my way, makes sense, I would definitely look into that.
okay. Are you guys familiar with cost segregation studies, bonus depreciation?
I am.
Yes, I am.
I'm not. Tell me more, Paul, please.
All right. Well, when you buy a piece of property, an investment, let's look at a multifamily house. You're buying three things. You're buying the land, which doesn't get depreciated because it's not going anywhere. And I want to hear you say that during an earthquake in Southern California. You are buying the structure, the ceiling, the floors, the walls, and under the Internal Revenue Code, that gets depreciated over 27 and a half years using the straight line method, the same amount every year. And the third thing you're buying is a tangible personal property. Now, we go past tangible personal property, but let me explain. The tangible personal property are the ceiling fans and the decorations on the walls and maybe some special plumbing that you may have there. And these companies that do cost segregation are not accountants, they are engineers, because they come up with the values, and it's a tough job, let me tell you. But now the tangible personal property can be depreciated over either 5, 7, or 15 years. And you can use accelerated depreciation, which you can't on the structure. So instead of taking the same amount every year, you can take what's known as declining balance and double declining balance. And I'll give you an example. For an asset that costs $10,000 that has a 5-year life, 5-year life means 20% a year. Double declining means 40% a year. And the first year you take 40% or $4,000 of depreciation. Well, the second year you only have $6,000 in basis. So you take 40% of the $6,000 and you keep running that until the asset is fully depreciated. You can get really creative in accelerated depreciation, and there's a thing called sum of the year's digits, and you can Google that one and see what it is. The bonus depreciation said, and this was up through 12/31/22, that you could take 100% of the tangible personal property in 1 year up to $1 million. Now, we have to discuss something, and I think you guys all qualify. You have to be a real estate professional under the definition by the Internal Revenue Service in order to take all of this. If you are not a real estate professional, you end up getting a deduction of approximately $25,000 a year until it's all used up. And $25,000 a year at 37% isn't bad, but it's not the same thing as taking it against a loss and not paying any income tax. But I hate the fact when you pay no income tax, you're going through that lower level of 10% income tax, and you want to pay income tax at 10%. You don't want to pay it at 37%. And people just get it in their minds of, I don't want to pay income tax, but you got to be smarter than that. And I've been doing this for God knows how long, and I look at things a lot different than most guys do.
Hey, Paul, when you're all that, I remember like 90% of that, what you were just talking about, because I would have quarterly meetings with my accountant. And it's funny because even like when you were talking about it, my eyes were just kind of like glazing over. Where I was, that's why I paid my CPA to worry about all of that. I would just go and I would just say, look, I want to pay the least amount in taxes. What do I need to do? How can I depreciate all of this? Because I had that single line item and all my my rentals and things like that. But yeah, I 100% remember all of that.
And also, when you have a multifamily property, you can take the shrubs and the trees and the parking lot and so much more. And that's why you use a cost segregation study. And we work with one of the biggest and one of the best. By the way, our company, my partner and I have been doing this together for close to 2 years, is called LS Property Partners, LLC. And before we close, I will give you guys my my contact information. And if you guys have any questions, it would be my pleasure to talk with you.
Paul, I have a question for you. If say, for instance, in Ivan's case, owning a mobile home park, does the depreciation work differently if you don't own the land that the mobile homes sit on?
Well, like I said, the land doesn't get depreciated. So all you're talking about is the improvements. And because one thing you got to look at, when you get a property tax bill lists two things. It lists land and improvements. And that is going to be a help, not the deciding factor, but it's going to be a help in how you separate the property from the land and building, because the land and building on the property tax bill is totally different than what you paid for it. So then you got to figure out, how do I use this to my best advantage?
Okay.
And that's what I live for, my best advantage.
This is good stuff here. You have me thinking about a lot of things here, especially Dr. Ivan pointing out something earlier around his Airbnb. So when I look for properties to scale our group homes, I look for individuals who are they're having issues finding residents in their Airbnbs and different things of that nature. And I look for, Paul, long-term leases for those properties. I look for a minimum of 2-year lease, but I'm wondering, because this will be the first year after this, 2024, that we will actually do taxes. I'm wondering, how would that look like as it relates to, because we don't own the physical properties. I want to save some money here. So it's kind of like you said, we just park the money. We don't know what to do with it yet.
You lease the property, so you have lease income, which is passive income. But everybody's situation is different, and I would want to read the contract that you have.
Cool beans.
I work with a lot of attorneys, and like I said before, I testify in court. And so I know that the contract is the guiding light, is what we have to go by. And that's what's going to dictate the responsibilities of all of the partners.
Got it. That was clear as mud, but I'll get on your calendar.
Hey, if you start taking away the layers of Paul Levine, at the inside, you're going to find a teacher. And I love doing this stuff. As a matter of fact, by Greg, I will be a published author this year with probably 3 books. And then I plan on traveling around the United States and giving talks like this. And I love the interaction, because when I was a university professor, I just had fun. And my classes never came in second. They always came in first, because I made accounting interesting for them.
Well, you have to be kidding. You haven't done that already?
Done what already?
Being a published author.
Well, in effect, I am. And Greg pointed it out to me. I write articles on Facebook and on LinkedIn every workday. And the articles have to do with what we're talking about. Different investments in real estate, interest rates, cost segregation studies, bonus depreciation. And then I've got a couple of really neat war stories that I throw in from time to time.
Yeah. I'm going to bring up that the first book that we're putting out is called The Bible of Real Estate. And you can look at a version of it at the bibleofrealestate.info and check it out there. And we're also we're including some of the war stories, which are a lot of fun.
I mean, I'll tell you one war story, which is one of my favorites. I negotiated the sale of one of my clients to this small company in Delaware by the name of DuPont, one of the largest publicly traded companies in the world. It was me and my client on one side of the table and 4 guys from DuPont on the other side of the table. And we negotiated, and I got everything I wanted for my client. And then I get a call about 4 weeks after we're done with that from head corporate counsel from DuPont telling me that my client owes an additional $250,000 in taxes because the wife did a stupid thing and bought stock in the company during a certain period where you couldn't, and it created something called, I'm sorry, my mind just went. I had a brain fart. A phantom income. And so he told me this, and I knew he was right. And I said, let me call you back. And I called my client, and I explained the situation. The client and I were like this. I mean, that's the way I was with all of my clients. And my last words to my client were, "Can I play?" And he said yes. So I called the guy back and I told him I wasn't picking up the income. And I'm not signing a tax return that's $250,000 shy in income tax, but he doesn't know that. And he goes, "You have to." And I said, "I'm not." He goes, "You have to." We went back and forth. And then I said, "Do you know what it sounds like when a phone hangs up?" And I literally hung up on the guy. And he called me back 3 or 4 weeks later. And he goes, "You have to pick up the income." And I said, "I'm not." And we ended the same call. I said, "Remember how we ended the last call?" And I hung up on him. My office was in an area called Century City, really nice area here. And I lived in a place called Marina Del Rey, where all divorced guys live. And on my way home one day, I stopped off at my favorite watering hole, and I had drinks and dinner, and got home at midnight to a message from my client to call him in Wilmington, Delaware, no matter what time it was. It was 3 a.m. there. So I called and he picked up the phone. I said, "I woke you." And he goes, "No shit, give me a minute." And he gets back on the phone and he said, "They don't like you here." And I said, "It's not a popularity contest." And I won't go through all of the numbers, but they wrote him a check for $560 some odd thousand. And that came out to exactly to the penny, $250,000 after taxes. And they paid the tax. It wasn't their tax to pay. It was his. And there's nobody else in the United States that would have pulled that off. But I knew that DuPont would not do anything wrong, either by themselves or in a transaction that they're involved with. So that's like my war stories. That's one of my favorites.
That's a good one.
It's unique for sure. Nobody else could have pulled that off. And it's because I grew up in New York. I'm a nice New York Jewish boy. And I went to a college that cost me $23 my first semester. And it was the best accounting school in the country. And since everybody got a free ride, the competition was really tough in the classroom. And if you got a wrong answer, there were 29 other students and the professor ready to shove the right answer down your throat. That's why I became a teacher. Did I bore you to death?
No, that's great. No. So, Paul, I think you're a fabulous resource if you have something a little bit tricky or sticky and to get some advice about it. I think on our show on Thursday, you said if people were reviewing a deal and they weren't sure it was quite legitimate, that you're available to take a look at it and you could tell where it's maybe not quite right.
Yeah, back in the 80s and 70s, people were selling tax shelters, and they would say that you invest $250,000 and we'll get you $2.5 million in tax deductions.
Wow.
And those were tax shelters. What they didn't know was that after it was done, excuse me, right before the statute of limitations would bar the IRS from coming after that, they would send you a tax bill for the tax that you didn't pay, for penalties and interest for years. It came out to a lot of money. And those deals didn't have an economic reality of trying to make money. All those deals were a tax shelter. There was no motive of profit. And I got to tell you, I looked at those, the greatest people who bought them were doctors. Doctors know nothing about taxes. All they know is they don't want to pay taxes. And they go after anything. And they're a good target for these people. But if anybody comes to you and goes, "You're not going to have to pay any tax," look at them with a jaundiced eye because you're going to pay some tax someday. Now, there is a situation. I was playing golf one day, and one of the guys in the foursome, I knew him very lightly, and he was complaining because his father was very sick, and they were going to have to sell the father's house and pay a lot of taxes in order to cover the medical expenses. That was on the fourth hole. By the time we got to the fifth or sixth hole, he told me more about it and the fact that the house had tremendous amount of equity, and he didn't want to have to give it to Uncle Sam. So I said, what you should do is refinance the house and pull out some money to pay the medical expenses. His father was going to die, and I said, upon your father's death, he's going to transfer the house to you at fair market value. So if you get the house at fair market value upon your father's death and sell it, their tax amount is 0. And that you can look up on the internet. The one thing I want you to do, and one thing I do, is I educate my clients, because I'm not going to make decisions for you. You have to be informed. You have to have knowledge, and that's where the teacher in me comes out, because I want you to know what your options are and what it means. And you got to get involved. And if you don't get involved, you're not that smart. It's your money. Nobody's going to care about it as much as you do.
I totally agree. I have a question, Paul. And for anyone else as well, let me know if this is your experience. But I know that back in the storage, the self-storage space itself, it's very limited opportunity for you to get in. It's almost like you stated, if someone's not passing away or someone's looking to sell their business on, maybe like on bizbuysell.com or something of that nature, it's very hard to come across those opportunities. I guess you got to be a part of a network to be a part, to kind of find those deals, or maybe have a seasoned CPA like yourself or accountant yourself to say, hey, I know someone who's looking to sell this. Because before it gets to ordinary people like myself and others who are just starting their investing journey or looking to, get into self-storage. But my question is, where do you find these deals? Do you just have to know someone like yourself?
Well, yeah, because my partner and I have some programs where we will target a certain area, and we can make it as big or as small as you want. You target the area. We can get the names of the owners of self-storage. We can end up calling them up and finding out if they want to sell, or we can look and see if anything is for sale in that area. It's knowing how to use the program. And my partner, by the way, who is African American, my partner has been doing this for a long time, and he called me to become to set up this company because he knew what he needed. He needed the tax end in between his knowledge and mine, and what I've learned from him. We're dynamite. We have fun, and we do good things for the clients. And we do it all over the country.
Yeah. So, Paul, do you develop storage facilities, like buy the land, build the structures?
Yeah. I don't particularly build it, but I would, if you have an area, we would go out and buy the land, make sure it's in the right place in order to get the traffic that you want. Then we would hire an architect to design the property. We'll see how many units we can get in. We'll see how many cold storage units we want and how many that aren't climate controlled. There are a lot of questions. Do you want it 2 stories? Do you want an elevator? Do you want it 1 story and just drive up to it? So we would look in the area where you want and see what your competition is. And then we can start from the ground up.
Now, I'm thinking it might complement some of the things that, say, Ivan's doing, or maybe Maurice, that kind of approach. So that's why I'm asking. So,
Yeah. Before I had this company with my partner, his name is Fred Sams. With Fred, I had a company that did self storage, so I'm familiar with it. And it wasn't going in the direction I wanted it, and that's why I ended up going into another area altogether. I even tried at the very beginning of becoming a realtor, residential. And when one housewife said she didn't like the crown molding, I wanted to stroke, I wanted to, you know, choke her to death. And I decided, no, I've dealt with the owners of businesses and only the owners as a CPA, and I want to deal with these guys. And it's a lot easier for me.
Yeah, when you get to the point where you want to taser your clients, it's maybe time to do something else.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm a guy who doesn't like violence, but I really wanted to kill this woman. And also, and just as an aside, when you work with me, you get this personality, because if you want to know what I'm like, if you've ever watched MASH, I'm Benjamin Franklin Pierce. I'm very good at what I do. I'll crack jokes in the middle of very serious meetings because I need that mental break. I can't focus that long, and you shouldn't have to. So I make jokes, and I'll get the result I want.
That's great. So one of the reasons I started this little group is as an opportunity for people to present their investment opportunities. Does anybody have anything? Are you looking for joint venture partners? Are you looking for some financial investors and things you're doing, Ivan or Maurice, Rodney? I know Larry always has notes for sale.
So I'm looking to get to Larry's level there. So I'm always looking for investor partners, anyone who's looking to put money to work. And I think Paul touched on it earlier, having that mailbox money. So if you want to just put that money to work at an 8-9% return and kind of just know don't want to know what's going on here, I could do that for you. Or it could be the opposite, where you kind of want to hold hands and I'll walk you through, kind of teach you the note business itself. But yeah, that's I'm always looking for something of that nature. You can always visit the website in my name.
Yep. I'm the same as Maurice. I aspire to get to Larry's level, and we're looking for more investors that want to earn that 8 to 9% passive, and we're investing with a purpose. We're helping people that can't get loans for their houses, and we can build stabilized neighborhoods this way. Okay.
If you guys will send an email to me, I will keep all of this in mind, and see who I come across and see if that's something that they want to do. I mean, a lot of people want to invest in these notes. They want to invest in triple net leases because it's almost like McDonald's can print money. I mean, when the rent is due, they're going to pay it come hell or high water. But I like a challenge, and that's not a challenge to me. And also, it scares me if you're locked into a lease with McDonald's and it's a 20-year lease, and 5 years into the lease, they build a school across the street. You're not making anything on that land other than those monthly rent payments.
Yeah. And Larry,
it depends on the triple net lease model. If I've known investors that are looking to invest in triple net lease medical buildings and buildings like CVS or Walgreens, because that's passive also.
Yeah, those are good, solid triple net lease investments, and you just about can't go wrong.
Except in Chicago and in some parts of New York.
Even if they tear the building down, Walgreens is still going to pay you every month.
Yep. That's true.
And Larry, maybe you can tell us about the show that you put on and with your special event for axe throwing.
For what?
Don't you? Aren't you the person who has the night before? Did you meet in the bar for the axe throwing? I'm thinking of somebody else?
No, you must be thinking of somebody else.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, that's not a bad idea.
But you put on a show, right? You have an investor.
Yeah, I've got several investors that invest in, like the notes. Right now, I have up to about $5 million, $6 million worth of funds that I could go out and buy, and I'm always constantly looking for more. I'm in the process of creating a syndication, so that way, I can properly advertise, with the notes and what I'm trying to do. But yeah, I like Rodney and Maurice and Ivan. I mean, we're all pretty much in the same business, either note business, or even if you're just a real estate investor, single family homes or multi-units, you should be out there constantly raising money, because you will get to a point where you're going to hit a wall and you will need money. And I experienced that early on, because I've been investing since 2006, and about a year into it, I bought my 15th property, and they said, I went back to the bank that I had a really good relationship with. And I knew the president, we would go out golfing and, dinner and all this stuff like that. And he goes, "Larry, I can't loan you anything anymore." He's like, "You're at the limit." And I'm like, crap, what am I going to do? And then that's when I, looked into private lenders, and I've been using private lenders ever since.
By the way, one person I neglected to add when I said the team that you need a banker. That's
100%.
I had a relationship with the banker when I started out, and we would talk every day. Basically, we became great friends.
Yep.
And in fact, one day I came into the office and he goes, "I'm going into a meeting now, and one company is buying another company and they're doing this and that." And he goes, I don't know how to approach it. And I laid it out for him the way it works. And then he called me back after the meeting was over, and he goes, "I was the star of the show." So I'll work with anybody on anything, because I'll look at any situation, and I've had so much diversified experience that, it's fun for me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is great. There's been some really good gems here for everyone. So, any you have your Maurice? Are you saying you have something you want to say?
Yes, I have a question here. My internet is spotty here. I'm not sure what's going on with this thing. I pay premium for good bandwidth. I'm not sure what's going on. But I want to go back to Larry. Larry, you said something around properly marketing your business. I'm not sure if you guys have ever come across Larry's content. This is just alarming that this is just practice for you right now. You haven't even been doing it seriously around marketing your business. I'm interested to see what has been working for you, what hasn't been working. Maybe we could discuss it offline, because I see you across the different platforms, no matter if it's LinkedIn, no matter if it's Facebook. But I didn't know you were just practicing. You're looking to take that a little bit more serious here. So
yeah, and when I was really buying the properties, I mean, I was I literally had up to about $15 million of that was available to me. So that's why I was able to buy these properties, rehab them, sell them, and stuff like that. But with my marketing, I'm always looking at everybody as a seller, a buyer, and a funder, right? And so that's why I'm always trying to make content around those three things. Whether I'm trying to work on a deal or dud series that I'm working on, or just really just something personal, like Joni and I or my kids will go out hiking, and just that way they can also see a personal side of me. But then I'm also talking about like my cousin Chris. He's starting his real estate journey. And so he's been asking me a lot of questions and things like that. And so with that, I swore that I was totally done with wholesaling and things like that. But because of those interactions, I went out for the first time in years driving for dollars, right? So I'm kind of creating content around that. And then I'm also creating content around, when I buy these notes, either in my self-directed IRA, or, for example, we just bought 95 non-performing assets. So we're working through those. I'm in the process of creating content around those, because there's a lot of things that you need to do right. And if you don't do them right, it can 100% get you in a lot of trouble. Right. So,
Absolutely.
and I just approach it from the fact that I want to put content out that's personable, so they can know me, and then also about the deals that I'm kind of working on, just like little things that I have going on.
Absolutely. One more question, Greg. I want to punt it back to Paul real quick. Larry touched on the self-directed IRAs. Is it possible, Paul, to I'm sure I don't have a lot of money to purchase a self-storage unit. However, is it possible, or have you done deals in the past where individuals was able to purchase that kind of asset in their self-directed IRA?
Yeah, but sometimes you don't want it in the self-directed IRA, because if you've got depreciation that could offset other income on your tax return in in any IRA, forget about self-direct, it's not going anywhere.
Right.
It's not going to benefit you. So, and this goes back to my concept of I've got to educate my client.
Yeah, I need it.
Yeah, Maurice, you would be wonderful to work with. You got the right attitude.
Yeah, I have to figure out how to just to throw this out there, with the group homes, we have a charitable portion of it, and then we have the kind where, of course, we're looking to make money. So the money that comes in, my wife and I, we want to put that money to work. So we're not looking to we're looking for other avenues to buy other things, to keep the money going and to diversify ourselves here. So hearing you speak, it's almost like a laundromat as well. It sounds like a lot of these things they all have like a common foundation. We're looking at a laundromat, or looking for a purchase a laundromat on a biz buy sell website. And even with those, it's hard to find anyone who's looking to sell unless, someone recently passed away and they actually inherit that asset and don't want nothing to do with it, or just someone has had the business for 20 plus years and they're just looking to unload it. And like you said, it's a lot of baby boomers who are looking to just get out the business themselves, but a lot of businesses don't sell either. I've seen some numbers where people who are looking to sell businesses, most of them, they don't sell because, like, individuals like ourselves, we don't know about them. So Paul, you sound like you're my guy here.
Well, I worked with some people in San Antonio, as a matter of fact, where my favorite basketball team is. And they had group homes, and my partner and I at one point were going to set up care facilities for individuals, and those things generate cash flow like you wouldn't believe, but you got to know all about it. But when I say give you cash flow, you make an investment of somewhere around $300,000, and then you're getting close to $30,000 a month in cash flow a month.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the long-term goal there, Paul. That is the
My
long-term.
partner
I love it, Maurice.
licensed to do it, still can do it. And what we do is we end up partnering with you. That's basically our fee. And then this way you've got somebody there who can handle any situation. But you also have an on-site administrator who is licensed and who can take care of the whole thing. And I know my partner is going to yell at me because he doesn't want to set any more of these up. But hey, if we make money, you make money, everybody's happy.
Absolutely. But
And
that's
we're looking at a $300,000 investment.
Yeah, it's hard to unlearn mortgage notes, and it's not saying that I'm unlearning it, but it's just way more not hands-on. I don't have to worry about someone calling off, replacing people, finding people to pay at market rate and all that kind of stuff. So I'm interested to hear. Yeah, I'm very interested. I'll say that much.
Diversify.
I would love you guys to follow my articles every day. I go on Facebook under Paul Levine, and I have my articles also on LinkedIn. And Greg and this lady Betty set up a newsletter where my article is also there. And
Yeah.
if you follow it, I'm gonna hit on all of this stuff once, at one time or another.
Yeah, you can get. I put the contact information in the chat here and also in the comments. But if you go to the Bible of Real Estate.info, you can check out the book that's not published in book form yet, but you can read it there. And there's a link to the LinkedIn newsletter, so you could subscribe to his newsletter, and it does come out every day.
Done that on weekend at the beginning when I started this thing, and I've been writing these articles, by the way, for over 4 years. I can't tell you how many articles I have, and that's why we decided to do the book.
Yeah,
so, but if you look at the articles every day, in the beginning, for over 4 years ago, I did it on the weekends as well, and I decided that I was going to take a break on the weekends, and now I only do it on regular work days.
Smart.
And you guys can ask questions anytime you want, either in that format, or I will make sure, even though Greg was streaming my information, I will say it again before we leave.
Yeah, so now is probably a good time. I think we're coming up to an hour, and it's probably good for people to go off and enjoy their Saturdays. But this has been absolutely fabulous. I really appreciate everyone coming today.
Thank you
for hosting us.
Thanks, Greg.
My contact information is, my telephone number is 818-298-4000. As easy as you can get it. My email address, as Greg has put it on the screen, is plevine@lspropertypartnersllc.com. And I constantly check my emails. And then the website is www.lspropertypartnersllc.com. And then the information on the book is the Bible of Real Estate.info. So I'm here, I'm available, and I love conversations and getting to know people, as well as accomplishing things for them.
Wow, Paul, how you
Thank
stay
you.
so young? How do you keep up with this? Like, what is? Are you juicing every day? Like, what is this? Like, how do you keep up with all this?
Well, it's a passion, and I'm going to go into the personality of Paul Levine for a moment. I am not in a relationship now with a lady, and I desire to be, but I have my passion. All of that passion has gone to work, and I got to tell you, my partner and I get along so well, and I look forward to every day and playing with him. When I say playing with him, we put stuff back and forth, and I whoop on him, I call it. And so I really like it, and I learn from talking to people. I knew about the notes and everything else. I've come across it more than a few times. It's not something I like, because I like to have a little more control over the asset. And that's why I like apartment buildings, for two reasons. Number one, the capital gain. And number two, you get some cash flow, and it's a nice asset. And, you can look at it, and if it's an A building or a B+ building, you get pride of ownership. And I like that.
Yeah, that guy, Paul. I'm interested to pick your thoughts on that. I think notes is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Maybe I have to unlearn some things, So I'm interested to see offline.
It's a great investment, but you got to look at what you want, and what do you want out of the investment? Where do you want to be in 10 years from now, and what is your financial picture going to look like then? And what we got to do now is start with baby steps to get you there.
I will have to say this, just because my wife has had a storage unit for 10 years. And I told her, babe, all the stuff that we have in there, we could have bought at least 3 times over. And we have things there where we haven't seen. And we moved from up north, from New York, okay?
Hey,
we have coats. I will live in Manhattan. So anyway, we have coats, we have boots, stuff that we've last time we used was 7 years ago. And I'm like, you just got to get rid of the storage. No, I want to save this thing. And I thought maybe someday I should invest in one of these units. So there you are, Paul.
Yeah, I like self-storage. It's a really good business, and you got to look at it as a business. You got to look at any real estate investment that you get into as a business, because you're going to deal with people. Like, somebody mentioned that, tenants are a pain in the ass. They are, but that's who you got to deal with. You got to deal with God knows how many different personalities. And of those personalities, you're going to have a number of people who don't like you just because you're the landlord.
Yep.
Yep.
Been there, done that.
And I wrote an article on that.
Yep. Anyway, it was a pleasure being with you guys. I've got to run.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time. All right.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you guys.
See you guys.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Happy
Greg.
Friday.
Nice
Bye.
meeting you, Paul.
Hey,
See you, Maurice. See you,
Nice
Robert.
meeting you, Paul. I'll be